Hello, I'm Aaron Shaw with Military Friendly, and today I have the privilege of speaking with a team that's doing something few others are, building an ecosystem where military affiliated talent can thrive, not just transition. JobsOhio has made it their mission to position Ohio as the most military-friendly state in the country. And that's just not just a tagline. It's a strategy backed by policy, investment, and most importantly, action. Joining me today are JP Nauseef, President and CEO of JobsOhio, Ryan Squire, who's the Vice President of Marketing and Communications, and Alex Conley, who's the Director of Find Ohio. We're going to explore what's behind this statewide commitment, what veterans can expect when they consider a future in Ohio, and what employers and communities across the state are doing to make that future a reality. Before we jump into some of the questions, I'd ask that we go around and just provide some brief background. Let's kick it off with Ryan.
Thanks, Aaron. So I've been in Ohio for about 25 years now. I came here as a son of the American Revolution to study journalism and have stayed in Ohio ever since. Raised my family here and excited about the opportunities that we have to share everything we're doing for our military and veterans in the state.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Alex.
Hi, Alex Conley. I lead our Find Your Ohio program here at JobsOhio. I've been here for about almost 7 years. I'm not originally from Ohio, but I have made Ohio my home. I'm a transplant. I love it here. And I think it's a great place where our transitioning military members and their families can build a great career and lifestyle.
Great. Thanks, Alex. And JP.
Hi, JP Nauseef. I came to Ohio with a military family in 1978. My father was an Air Force general. I was born in Germany, lived in Washington, D.C., but he got an assignment in Wright-Patterson, and like thousands of military dependents, I came with my parents. Then when I went in and started getting educated, I went into the Air Force, went into ROTC, got commissioned as an Air Force officer. I left. And then came back, and my wife and I decided we wanted to raise our family here and commit a large portion of our professional and philanthropic life to making sure military members, veterans, and military families were recognized and had programs and benefits that would help them.
Awesome. Love it. Thanks, JP. Okay, let's start at the top with the big picture. JP, why is Ohio so committed to becoming the most military-friendly state in the country?
So this is something that's part of our DNA, part of our ethos. So it starts with that. Ohioans are committed to service. And there are 14 different military installations here. And in terms of the Air Force and the space program, you can point back to the origins of those. There are brave, courageous Ohioans that have innovated, like the Wright brothers, like John Glenn and Neil Armstrong in the space business, and that's led to a large military base and veteran presence that the citizens of Ohio have grown up with. So it's really grown up with our culture. Not only the warfighting side, but the materiel side and the innovation side of the business. So it's something that's part of our DNA, and so it's natural for us to do this. And secondly, it's very strategic and important for the economy. Not only do those federal jobs provide payroll taxes and a great quality of life. I believe it's just over 5% of our economy and our employment base are federal and military. But the industry partners that come along with that and produce an amazing and broad economic impact. So if you look at the work, as an example, being done at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the work done there to identify the threat, to do research to determine what technologies are needed to combat the threat, then the acquisition of the materiel and the systems that deter the threat, and then maintaining those things through companies like Anduril that just announced last year they were going to locate in central Ohio, creating 4,000 jobs over the next 13 years. Companies like Sierra Nevada Corporation, and so many others. Boeing and Airbus are here, but those jobs are important to our economy from the industry side, and then again, our heritage our belief in service. So to combine those two things, and it makes complete sense that we want to be recognized for what we are, the most military-friendly state in the country. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, thank you for laying that all out. That's incredible stuff. Thank you. So with that, obvious to some, maybe not to others, but just hearing that, I think you get a fairly good idea that there's considerable effort that goes into recruiting veterans. So first piece of that question is why is that the case? Again, I think you answered some of that in the previous question, but really let's put a cherry on it. And then second part of that is, beyond patriotism and the words, thank you for your service, what specifically do you think veterans offer that makes these efforts worthwhile?
Well, let's put the cherry on top, because this is something that the governor has embraced, JobsOhio has embraced, and the state, the governor, the legislature, JobsOhio have taken some very actionable measures. For instance, our state was the first one to enact military spouse license reciprocity. And again, this, you served, that when the member serves, the spouse and the family serve. So if someone gets moved or PCS to a different location and the spouse had a great job or a license for a profession, but you move to a new state, it's sometimes difficult to get that license in the different state. We created reciprocity here. We were the first state to do it, also caring about the military member, the veteran, and the family. For school enrollment to the dependents, you bring your, again, I moved around as a dependent, I changed schools. And sometimes when those military members locate either on a base or near a base, they didn't have the choice on which school district they wanted to go to, especially when you're living on a post or on a base. But now in Ohio, we have school open enrollment for military dependents. So there's a choice that the parents have on which school district they want to send their dependents to. It's a big deal. Again, these families are moving around so many times, and with all the deployments, it's great that the parents can decide where they want their children to go, which district. And then there's no state tax on military retirement income. In some cases, our military members are retired military members and veterans. In some cases, earn a fixed income. And Ohio is already a very affordable state. I think we're in the top 5 for most affordable states. But this makes it even more affordable for military retirees, because their retirement income is not taxable. We have a GI promise that supports military dependents and veterans themselves getting access and deferment of some of their higher education costs. The state has put a veteran support office in every one of Ohio's 88 counties. We have central resources at one location and a website, ohiomilitaryfriendly.com. So veterans, military members, dependents can go to one location and see the entire range of services and so many more. And in particular, as someone that was a military dependent myself, showed up into Dayton, Ohio. Most of these kids have been together, since they started school, and young kids adapting to those social environments, getting access to the sports events that are happening of minor league or professional baseball, NCAA basketball. It's tough sometimes to make those dependents and those family members feel at home. So we started a program called Hometown Heroes, and that is sponsor funded. And it provides access so that military dependents, veterans, and other students can get free access to these great sporting events, free concerts. There's dozens of these events that happen all over our states every year. But that program we started in 2003, and it provides access to these military members and their families and veterans. And it also does on-field and on-court and on-stage recognition. So we're recognizing their service. Ohioans are telling these military members and their families that we appreciate and value you and your service and your family's contribution. And then you get to enjoy a great NCAA basketball game or a professional baseball game or a free concert. It's pretty incredible. To date, over 200,000 of those people, military members, veterans, their families, have had access to these events since 2003. They're happening in every corner of Ohio near military installations. It's a really, really great program. And, it turns out people in Ohio that didn't serve want a way to say thank you to these military members and veterans and their families. And by being part of that program, it gives them a way to say thank you. So everyone wins from it, and Ohioans love to do it. So those are just a few of the things in terms of the cherry on top to show you how we're taking actions and putting in concrete initiatives to show the veterans and their families and military members that we want them here, we love having them here, and they're part of our community just like anyone else.
Yeah, incredible. And I do want to come back to the military families and the community integration piece of that here in a bit. But I also want to revisit a topic that you brought up earlier in the conversation, and that's some of the companies that are recognizing these initiatives and making the move themselves to Ohio. And you mentioned Anduril, and you know, there's some buzz around that, of course. But what does their investment say about Ohio's future for veterans in high-tech fields like aerospace and defense?
You know, a global realignment. You know, the economy is realigning. There's reshoring going on to reshore supply chains and critical infrastructure. It's a real reindustrialization. And the part of that is for national security purposes. So we're seeing industry that wants to come in and be part of that reindustrialization. They're coming to Ohio for several reasons. Number one, they want to be close to their customer. And military missions at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, at NASA Glenn Research Center, etc. They design and acquire and maintain those weapon systems that companies like Anduril, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Sierra Nevada Corporation, in Joby Aviation, the things that they build are bought by the men and women that serve at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, as an example. So they want to be close to their customer. They also want to hire individuals that are skilled and disciplined, that share that ethos, that want to do something cool, something important, something that provides a service beyond themselves. And when you're working in that industry, that workforce here in Ohio does great work. We have amongst the largest manufacturing workforces in the country, amongst the most productive workforces in the country, but they also share that ethos of really valuing service and wanting to do it for the greater good of their country. And so they have that ethos, they have that workforce right here, and then they have a bevy of tools. They have site preparation and infrastructure investment dollars that make it easy and cost competitive for them to locate here. And Ohio is one of the most business-friendly states in the country. CNBC just came out with their ranking, and we were number 5 in the country this year, number 1 in the Midwest. And, you know, normally we wouldn't get excited about a number 5 ranking. But just a few short years ago, in 2018, we were ranked number 15. So we're tracking to be the most competitive state in the country. But companies and industry partners come to Ohio because they want the workforce and the ethos that's represented by military veterans and the family and ecosystem that surrounds them. And it's abundant in Ohio.
And I think, Aaron, there's kind of a mantra that we talk about. What we offer is this opportunity to dream it, to actually build it, to then test it, and ultimately scale it, right? And so what these companies are seeing is they don't have to have just one part of that. They can look at that entire thing, and it's the Ohioans that enable that the dreams to become built and then test and scale all in one place.
Yeah, awesome. And it's pretty clear to me that it's not industry agnostic, right? So it's not just limited to aerospace and defense, but all industries across the board. And so for a transitioning service member watching this, what types of industries should they be aware of or watching right now in terms of either trends or just general history?
Well, you can see what's happening, but the cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, bio and life sciences, energy, you know, these are super sectors that are going to drive and enable the economy going forward. In Ohio, you know, we're the 6th most economically diverse state in the country, and we have got a leadership investment presence in all of those super sectors. And there's a very healthy cross section of where those intersect with the federal government. But there's 100% cross section that these companies all are desiring to hire veterans and those that have had service in the military because they have discipline. And again, they have this ethos that they work for something greater than themselves. They know how to work as a team. And we have a program called Find Your Ohio that, as you know, Alex leads for us, that specifically targets transitioning military members who are leaving service, veterans, and we go all over the country to recruit them. And it matches an open job in Ohio in one of those industries with a candidate leaving the military or a veteran that's already left the military seeking a position in Ohio. Maybe Alex can share some about Find Your Ohio.
Sure. So, we try to make it as easy as possible for the candidate. We know transitioning out of the military can be difficult. And so we want to streamline the process. And so, a candidate submits one application through us. We're working with top private and public sector employers across the state. And once they enter our system, they're visible by all of our employers, but then we're also help matching them with openings at these employers, organizations. And so, candidates are acutely aware in today's recruiting landscape. You apply, you might be one of hundreds, thousands of candidates. Will your application be seen? So we're working with these HR teams. Our goal is to help them cut through that clutter, get them to the top of the list, make sure they're being seen and matched with great opportunities here in our state.
I guess
that sometimes people in the military speak a little bit different language, a lot of acronyms. And what our team does so well, and it's because we have such a strong focus and population of supporting military and veterans, that we help do the translation, both on the private company side to define the position in terms that the military, separating military member will understand, but also helping the military members translate their skills into what the private sector company will understand. That's a very valuable service. It's kind of a Rosetta Stone for military and veteran, and we do that very well here with Alex's leadership.
Yeah, that's tremendous, and something that's desperately needed on both sides of the coin, right? The transitioning service member to better understand how to position themselves and communicate in a way that's going to connect with the employer that's out there. But on the employer side, helping them understand the value and potentially not overlooking the fact that they may be a fit based on the resume and the whole person, right? Because you know what you know, and if you haven't been coached appropriately to display that resume in the right way, especially in today's day and age where there's technology and filtration services that are being used in a lot of these employers' databases, often is the case that resume could get pushed aside or never even seen by a set of human eyeballs. So that's incredible to hear, and I'm glad that's in place. And really was a question I had later on. So thank you for jumping ahead there a little bit and getting that one knocked out and being an all-inclusive of that. So with that, we talked a little bit earlier about the military spouse license for reciprocity. Military families, of course, are a part of that equation when you talk about attracting veterans to the state. So talk to me a little bit more about the family and the community aspect of Ohio. We heard a little bit about, sporting events and things of that nature, but what can families expect, not only from a support aspect or advocacy aspect throughout the state, but just typical day in the life? What can I do in Ohio from a family aspect and ultimately being embraced by the community as a whole?
Well, having been part of a dependent in a military family years and years ago, and now as a veteran, I think what you can find here in Ohio that maybe you wouldn't find to the same level in other states. And, it's our hope that every state takes this on because it's good. It's good for the country. It's good for the veterans. It's good for their families, is that there's a high level of awareness of the service that these individuals do. And with a focus on the family, we have, again, especially in the last 15 years, I know when I was growing up, my experience was my father left for a year deployment to Vietnam. I remember that. It was quite a memorable and disruptive moment in my life. And I remember when he left, and then I remember when he came back. But in recent memory, there have been military members that deploy 6, 7, 8 times in a career, almost the entire childhood. And so the importance, the relative importance of the community to the dependents and the spouses that are left behind are much more significant now than they have ever been. And I know that is changing a lot in recent memory because there's not as many overseas conflicts anymore where we're deploying. But that community role to be there and the awareness of community members, and not just those directly surrounding the base, but broadly in the jurisdictions. And so these sporting events and these concerts become important touch points where those community members can interact with dependents and spouses and really let them know they're part of the community, that we have their backs. Ohio's also got several, with 14 major installations in our state and 5 VA hospitals. There's a vast infrastructure here for services like healthcare and community support. And what we've done is spread that out into the civilian parts of our community. So not only the military-centric parts of our community understand veterans and the military and their families, but the civilian parts of our state have a high degree of awareness because of programs like this, and because our governor has made it a priority that we would be recognized as the top military-friendly state. And we're out every day implementing programs, communicating about these programs that veterans and military members and their families can take advantage of. So there's such a high degree of awareness all over the state. I think that is very, very unique amongst larger states, and Ohio is one of the larger states in the country.
And I think, Aaron, just to pile on that, I mean, it's education too, right? We have a Purple Star school program that the state enacted that really provides training at a high level to administration, but also to staff and teachers, right? How do you work with students who are dependents, of the military member? What do they need? What are their specific needs, and how is it different, right? How is they as a student, how do they show up differently? I think it's a phenomenal program that a lot of schools in Ohio are taking advantage of. But JP, you also shared your conversation with Ted Carter. And so it isn't just the K through 12 schools, it's our higher ed.
Right, that's right. Ted Carter, you might know, Ted is the president of the Ohio State University. He came here from the University of Nebraska, but he was also the superintendent of the Naval Academy. And he is very well known for, I think, the most carrier landings by any naval aviator in our country. And he is very acutely aware of the importance of these issues. And he has made public statements that Ohio State will be the #1 institution of higher learning for veterans and their families. So I think the alignment with one of the most prestigious, largest universities in the country, with a governor of the state of Ohio and its economic development arm, the private economic development arm of JobsOhio, implementing across the board and communicating these initiatives and this priority every day, multiple times a day in different domains, I think is also very, very unique, but it's authentic because it represents and reflects who we are in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, great point, Ryan. I mean, the education piece is certainly one that is in household conversations around the country when going through that decision-making process of what life looks like after service. I know firsthand that was certainly high priority for my wife and our children when considering, again, where to live, where to work, where to play after we got out back in 2014. So great point there, and glad to hear that it's a focal point across the state. Okay, so obviously a ton of incredible things happening all day, every day. Love hearing about all of it. What's next for JobsOhio when it comes to military engagement, and what are some of the efforts or ideas that you guys are excited about?
Well, a couple things. We're going to be scaling what we do in all of these programs. And again, in terms of the Ohio statewide Hometown Heroes program, it's new as of 5 years relative to the one that we started near Wright-Patterson 20 plus years ago. But again, as the world is changing and there's more reshoring and onshoring and a greater level of importance put on some of the technologies that are needed for national security and for our nation's defense, Ohio's at the center. So companies like Anduril and semiconductor companies like Intel and their supply chain that the military needs to use and needs to accelerate advanced applications, again, to defend against a threat. Our opportunity the next 5 years is to really capitalize on what's happening in the world and help bring more of those companies here, help the ones that are already here expand, and to bring more and more veterans and those separating from military service here to find gainful employment because they're great citizens and we want them here. So we're seeing growth here in the semiconductor industry tied to military and national security applications. AI will drive that. Energy and small modular nuclear reactor technology will be emerging in our state. Bio and life sciences, all those things that intersect with military and federal missions and service. And so we will be aggressively seeking and promoting and marketing Ohio to military members, separating and veterans, while at the same time advocating inside the Beltway to bring more of those military missions here, as you want to put them out of a central location in the Capitol Loop area and bring them, still within an hour flight or a day's drive, but to a state that has a high concentration of military and federal workforce. And again, we value them, we understand them, we share common objectives and culture. So both the missions, the industry, and then the people who have served their families, we want them all here. And Ohio is a perfect fit. So we're going to be doing all those things for the next 5 years.
Yeah, incredible. Thank you. So throughout the conversation here today, we've heard why folks should seriously consider Ohio if they're not already. But if a veteran or spouse is watching and they're unsure next steps, what's your recommendation or guidance? Does it go to JobsOhio.com? How do they navigate and get all the information they need?
Well, they can certainly go to findyourohio.com. They can learn more about what it's like to work and live in Ohio. OhioMilitaryFriendly.com as well provides some great resources. But if they are looking for a job themselves, their families, spouses, we will help them find great employment here, and hopefully they can build a great life and career in our state.
And they may meet Alex too, right? You're going to be in 21 different locations this year?
That's right. We will be at 21 events this year. We've got quite a busy schedule. I think we've done about 43 events. We were just talking about this earlier.
All over the country.
All over the country. We will maybe be at a base near them. Definitely follow our LinkedIn channel to see where we're going next. But we're really dedicated to reaching as many transitioning military members, veterans, and their families as possible, and helping their transition to civilian life be, as simple as possible for them.
So if you're transitioning and looking for a job, findyourohio.com. Go to that website, and you'll also be able to see a schedule of where Find Your Ohio is going to be on the road, at a job fair, or near a military transition office near you. If you want to learn the military-friendly initiatives in Ohio relative to other states, go to military-friendly, is it militaryfriendly.com? OhioMilitaryFriendly.com. And you can learn about that. And if you just want a general what's happening in Ohio with business and industry, go to the Jobs Ohio website.
JobsOhio.com.
So there's three different places to look depending on what the veteran or military member or dependent are looking for, whether you're seeking a direct job, wanting to learn about the military-friendly attributes, or whether you just want to find out in general about what's going on in the Ohio business climate. You can go to one of those three locations.
Awesome. I'll throw in a additional resource for consideration, militaryfriendly.com /states, where you will find Ohio and all of the other states and a breakout of veteran benefits that are available to you and your family, as well as create a candidate profile and search the military-friendly employer database, where inevitably you'll find a lot of those Ohio-based employers. So there's another resource for those of you that are watching. JP, Ryan, Alex, thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for spending this time with us. For those of you out there that are watching, whether you're a transitioning service member, a military spouse, or an employer looking to get this right, as you've heard, Ohio's momentum is real, and the initiative and the invitation, excuse me, is open. So if you're wondering where to start or what's possible, take a serious look at what Jobs Ohio is building. Thanks again for joining us. Take care all.